Team Titan 1 actual, you are now entering Russian airspace. Proceed with caution.
Roger that, Titan 1. Continuing on this vector. ETA to target 3 minutes.
Brass must be scared shitless if they're willing to risk an international incident sending us in like this. Intel says this burg's been abandoned for 50 years. But you know what they say about military intelligence. So keep your head on a swivel.
Spartan Team.
Hello, this is Rob with Resonance Games, and today I'm going to be reviewing the latest first-person shooter from Raven Software, Singularity. Raven is a fairly respected developer responsible for some of my all-time favorite shooters, including Blood, Star Trek Elite Force, and Jedi Outcast. Even with the rare misstep that was last year's Wolfenstein, I think it's fair to say that my expectations for the game were pretty high. Singularity begins with a helicopter crash that strands you and one of your military buddies on a nearly abandoned Russian island where, needless to say, lots of things go wrong. I won't spoil the plot, but I will say that it is a fun, derivative B-movie affair involving lots of time travel, babbling scientists, and angry dictators.
Captain Reko. You are Captain Reko, are you not? Don't look so surprised. Your name's right on your uniform. America's charming penchant for individuality.
Singularity is not going to win any story awards, but it's intriguing enough to keep you wanting to play, even if it is pretty silly. The gameplay mechanics of Singularity will be instantly familiar to anyone who has ever played a first-person shooter. You point a gun at the bad guys and shoot. However, there is one intriguing twist on the genre, and that comes from the Time Manipulation Device, or TMD. The TMD is an experimental weapon created by the USSR. It allows you to age enemies into dust or freeze them in their tracks. It's also used on parts of the game environment, as it can often repair crumbled staircases or rust away a safe that contains ammo or health. It's also worth noting that Singularity sometimes uses time as a puzzle device, in much the same way Half-Life 2 used physics. Unfortunately, the puzzles generally aren't as clever as Half-Life's, and they feel a little tacked on, but they don't really detract from the game in any way either. The game features a nice variety of enemies, both human and monster, each with their own unique abilities, as well as a few fun boss fights. Once the player gets the TMD though, everything becomes a little too easy, so I definitely recommend that veteran gamers play the game on the hardest difficulty to avoid becoming bored. The level design in the game is very solid, though it can be a little repetitive and linear at times. Each area is filled with nice little details and the polish factor is very high. The use of the Unreal Engine 3 means it has that familiar, glossy look we've all seen a million times, but since there are 50 other games with the same problem, it's hard to knock Singularity too much for that. However, there are other aspects of the game that feel equally familiar, and this is where I start to have some problems. From the post-apocalyptic visual style of the setting, to the shining audio logs you'll find scattered throughout the levels, there was a distinct feeling that I'd done all this before. The game borrows heavily and unapologetically from games like BioShock and Half-Life 2, but unfortunately it never really reaches the same heights as those games. Still, Singularity was an overall enjoyable experience, filled with a good variety of enemies, decent levels, and high production values, and I think anyone who is a fan of first-person shooters will get a kick out of it.